Welcome back to my Breath of Fire binge. I've now played through the entire series, so it's time for the final Know the Facts video. Today we're going to look at all of the things that you probably didn't know about the black sheep of the series, Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter. Let me know which facts you liked most, or if I'm missing anything interesting. Let's get into it. Let's talk a bit about the development of Dragon Quarter. The project was directed by Makoto Ikehara, who also worked on Breath of Fire 4 as a scenario writer. Dragon Quarter's dark, depressing setting was largely influenced by a certain Japanese novel. After reading the 1994 alternate history novel Go Fungo no Sekai, Makoto was inspired to create a game with a dystopian setting, which was a lot different to what fans of the series were used to. And fun fact, this novel also had a Japanese exclusive game adaptation released for the PlayStation 2. Take a look. Makoto also felt that previous Breath of Fire games were too easy, which is why the game mechanics of Dragon Quarter can be absolutely brutal and unforgiving. To make things even worse, the soft save function was completely removed from the power version of the game, making save tokens the only way to save. Fortunately, they did give players more save tokens in this version. Speaking of localization changes, Cupid is a female in the US version of the game but a male in the Japanese version. Unfortunately, there was quite a bit cut from the game due to a rushed development schedule. Most notably is an online mode, which was removed fairly early, but more importantly, a brand new fishing minigame was dropped later in its development. Additionally, Makoto intended to place a scene in the game that showed how the surface was destroyed, but this had to be cut due to deadline restrictions. Also, interesting to note is that the developers admitted that the class hierarchy of Sheldar is in reverse of what would normally make sense. What this means is that the higher levels of Sheldar should be the older, dilapidated slums, while the newer upper class sectors should have been further into the surface. I guess this makes sense, but it would hardly be a worthwhile journey if you started so close to the surface. If you look at some of the early concept art, you'll notice that some of the characters have undergone some significant changes. Take a look at Nina for instance. You can see that she was originally going to have much more of a steampunk design with leather dresses and goggles. In this image, she even has a sword for a weapon. Ryu also had some goggles and a mining helmet at one point, and even a cat which looks a lot like Cupid's companion. Bosch went through some major changes too, as it looks like he was originally planned to be a member of the Grassrunner clan. The most interesting change, however, is Lyn. Breath of Fire 5 is the only title that doesn't have Deus, but if you look at Lyn's concept art, you can definitely see a resemblance between the two. It looks like she was originally going to be Deus. Now let's talk a bit about the dragons. The developers decided to use Russian words for their names to help reinforce the dystopian feel. Our first dragon, Odin, is a Russian word for the number 1. Shatyr is the Russian word for the number 4, and Diva is the Russian word for 2. And if you're wondering, Diva was mistranslated to Dover in the US version of Dragon Quarter. And since these are Russian words, I guess we should be pronouncing them as Adin, Duva, and Shatyria. Other Russian influences include that unforgiving optional dungeon Kokun Hore, which is Russian for Cocoon Hall. And finally, loads of Japanese enemy names were also Russian names. For example, the Death Cow enemy was named Kuruva in the Japanese version, which is the Russian word for cow. If you've seen the other Breath of Fire Know the Facts videos, you'll know that many character names in the series reference real-life people. Violet Zeno is likely a reference to the famous philosopher Zeno of Elea, who is best known today for his paradoxes of motion. His philosophy was about the world being unchanging and that change as humans perceive it is an illusion. This sounds a lot like Violet Zeno's position within the Rangers and how enforcing the Regent system is preventing the world from moving forward, thus leaving the world unchanged. Now let's take a look at Elyon. Does he look familiar to you? Well, according to interviews with the design team, Elyon's character and design is based off Fulu from Breath of Fire 4. Character designer Tetsuya Yoshikawa, who had provided official artwork for previous Breath of Fire games, simply did this because he wanted to use the character again. The fight with Elyon also has some interesting meaning behind it. During the fight, Elyon's attack patterns change when he enters a new yuga or world. Yuga is a Hindu word that means the 4 ages of life of the world. The 4 yugas within the battle are Asiya, Yetzirah, Beriah, and Atziluth. These 4 Jewish words are the spiritual realms in Kabbalah in the descending chain of existence. And what about the name Elyon itself? This word is Hebrew and means the highest or superior. This makes sense considering he's both the leader and the eldest of the regents. Did you notice in the credits that it states in memory of Yasuhito Okada? He was a former Capcom employee who was a scenario programmer for Breath of Fire 4 as well as a programmer for Pocket Fighter and Street Fighter Alpha 2. Rest in peace, Okada. If you managed to finish this brutal game, you would have also noticed that there's a vocal track that plays during the end credits. This song is titled Castle Imitation and was performed by J-pop artist Chihiro Onitsuka, who later included it on her own album Sugar High. Chihiro is actually a big deal and was insanely popular during the early 2000s, selling millions of records and hitting #1 on the Japanese charts. Finally, let's end with a glitch. This is an item and party EXP duplication glitch that requires the use of multiple save files. By using it, you can buff your characters up big time while retaining all of your party EXP and stat increasing items. The first thing that you need to do is load your game anywhere and then create a temporary save file that will be used later. Then just exit the game and from the menu screen load the initial hard save file. From here, grab any stat boosting items from your locker and use them on your party. This is also when you need to use all of your party EXP to level up as much as possible. Next, overwrite your hard save with your buffed up characters, then select Give Up, Soul Restore and save once again over your hard save. Now from the menu, load your temporary save file with your weaker characters. Then select Give Up, Soul Restore and save again over your hard save. Finally, load your game one last time and you'll have those same buffed up characters plus all of the party EXP and locker items from before. You can repeat this as many times as you want and end up with an insanely powerful party. And that ends my Breath of Fire binge. 5 games done and dusted. What an awesome series. If you liked this video, make sure you check out my other Know the Facts. See you next time.